I want to do some of my favorite combination workouts. Okay? We have the Pilates Studio Pro set up here. I have at the lowest setting a green band. We're going to work on abduction in the lower body, and then we're going to turn it around and do adduction, pulling it towards the center line. Okay? And up here we're going to do our rotator cuff sequence, internal rotation, external rotation, abduction, adduction, and some tricep work overhead. We're going to combine these movements. When you put the focus on one leg, your glute has to fire like crazy. You get balance and stability. You find how to connect your transverse, your obliques, all of your core function to that balance. And you'll notice while I'm doing this, I will probably lose my balance periodically and have to readjust and reclaim it. But it's fabulous. As we age, our balance doesn't improve unless we put the time and effort into it. So that's what this is all about, some of my favorite sequences. Because the arm work initially is closer to the system and the leg work is farther from the system, I've taken some of it out by cross-linking it to the other side, running it at a slight angle. Once you start playing with this, you'll see how to do that and everything will be just fabulous. Okay? So, let's get started here. Let's untangle myself. We're going to start with internal rotation. Okay? And we're going to start with abduction. Okay? If you haven't practiced these individually, please practice them individually before you start putting them together. Okay? So, here we go. I want to keep my shoulder blades together and down. I want to use my lats to pull them down to my hip. My right hip is doing all the anchoring. My glute medius is working very hard on my left side. My glute max is working very hard on my right side to stabilize this pattern. Keep your body as still as possible. Okay? If you'd like to throw a challenge into it, okay, we're going to go out and then we're going to cross step in. As you cross step in while you're pulling, you're going to feel the glute medius on the right side really firing up because your balance is getting way too far right unless you're anchoring that glute max and attaching that glute medius to it. So the cross step here is actually a fabulous challenge to your balance and challenge to the stability network that's having to perform to keep this stuff high functioning. Okay? So now we're going to go to external rotation. And to go over here, I either get too much tension or I need to add some. So I'm going to step out and I'm going to lengthen that purple band. Again, purple is your lightest, green is the next heaviest, right? So I'm not looking to overcompensate here. Let me step back just a little so I'm not snagging on the other one. There we go. So now I'm adding external rotation and abduction. Okay? It changes the stabilization pattern. Okay? You've got to anchor the parascapular with your shoulder blades together and down and connect everything to the hips. At this point, I have to tell you, my right hip is starting to scream. My glute max and glute medius are saying, whoa, dude, this is a lot, okay? There's one of those little slips in balance. So now I'm cross-stepping. I'm adding that additional challenge in. My foot is just lightly sweeping across the floor so that I have a proprioceptive sense of contact with where I am, right? You can pick this stuff up and do it differently, have it yank you all over, but I like to keep the toe gliding on the ground, okay? I'm going to switch to, that's right, abduction, abduction. So abduct above, abduct below. We're going to do about 10 here. And you should feel that burn going on over here in the right stabilization hip, okay? All right, So now we're going to do a little bit of a cross step here. So when I go opening and closing, crossing my center, opening, I'm relieving one pattern, there goes that balance, and activating another pattern. Then I relieve the upper as I activate the lower, okay? But with the cross step, you're getting the challenge of bringing that glute medius into play at the same time, okay? Let's go to overhead. I love this movement. Ladies, you're going to love your triceps if you do a lot of these. Tricep extension, keep that elbow out and high, and then just straighten your arm with your fingers pointing. If you did disco, I'm sure that was a disco move, but I didn't like it. So anyhow, we're going to do a couple more of these. All right, the last one we have is adduction. The hand goes through the cuff here so that it doesn't slide off, okay? Same thing, I'm going to adduct, right? You can see that there's very little pull on that band. So I'm going to raise it to my shoulder height from my elbow height, keeping it cross-anchored so that I take some of the length out of it so that I get nice tension, bringing this down to my body. Now I have adduction above, abduction below, right? So that completes my internal, external adduction on the upper body, and of course that tricep extension. A couple more here. I like to attach my breath even though I'm talking here, right? With an inhale on the exertion, exhale when the bands are doing the work. Let's add a couple of cross steps for the variety here. Again, try to keep everything as still as possible, just working the key muscles. When your hips are strong, when you connect your upper body and activate your core, you've got power, you've got the ability to do all kinds of things, all kinds of sports. Okay? So, now we're going to switch to adduct. That means put it on my inside leg. Okay, now I need to step out a little bit more because I want to pull that to center line. Okay, find a nice tension here. This is your long length band. This is your controlling band. I want to make sure that I've got good tension in the arm band here, and I'm going to adduct and internally rotate. Okay, again, keep yourself as still as possible. One of the things that really helps here is if you lift the toes on your base foot. So when I lift my toes, it causes me to contract my glutes and slightly tilt my pelvis, which pulls my shoulder back, forces my chin back in, gives me really much better balance and stabilization. Try lifting your toes periodically. It really helps with your posture and your balance. Okay? So we're going to add that challenge. We're going to cross step a little bit here. Again, try to keep the body as still as possible. As I cross center, I can feel the challenge in my hips. They're screaming to push that leg across, causing a little twist in my body. I'm trying to eliminate as much of that as possible so I'm getting the pure adduct internal rotation. Okay, let me lengthen the band. We'll go to external. Okay, you can't see it in the camera, but I changed anchor points. That's how fast this is. Okay? So, we're going to adduct and externally rotate. All the time you're keeping your wrist and fingers straight. Okay? I don't want to pull with my wrist action. I don't want to twist with my upper body. I want to keep things really as pure as possible in that shoulder joint so that my rotator cuff is getting the best possible workout that I can get. Let's go to abduction, adduction. Abducting up above, arm out to the side, leg into the center. Right? Again, you can imagine if you're doing this, you're realizing the glutes, glute max, glute medius in your left hip is starting to scream. Okay? There's quite a buzz in my right hip because that was my stabilization hip on the previous set. And I'm feeling a lot of life in these motors at the moment. Okay? Let's go to the tricep press and adduction. Don't let your working shoulder rise up on this one. Keep that shoulder blade down, extending out of that parascapular stabilization, which is again connected to your pelvic stabilization. Okay, we'll add a couple of little cross steps here just to spice it up. Again, work at your pace, work at your resistance levels, add more or less, increase or decrease the range of motion based on your needs. Let's do the adduct, adduct. Yeah, brought purple up to shoulder height here. So as I adduct, get back into camera. Okay, that's a little weak, hold on. Again, it's just this easy to step over and make changes in tension. And now my equipment is giving me a proper challenge on both sides. Okay? Adduct, adduct. Okay? Put your hand on your hip sometimes. Put your fingers on that glute medius. When I'm balancing, it's not going to be fired up. As soon as I start pulling everything in, it fires up and adds to that motor pattern, right? Learn how your muscles work. Feel how your muscles work when you're doing things so that you know what to recruit naturally. It'll all happen by feel with practice. And I want to see videos of all you people in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, loving life, doing what you enjoy, getting out in the river and fly fishing, skiing, hiking, surfing, paddleboarding, you name it. Wherever you're starting from, you can make improvements at any time. There's plasticity in our muscles and our myofascial system if you work it. Okay, obviously we would want to turn around and do it on the other side with both sets, but you don't need to see my back and my butt and the back of my head for that. Just reverse this and you'll have a full workout. I'm Marcus. Aloha.